in finding anything that public records that were there, and I also checked newspapers at the time to see if any stories were carried or comments were made that made the newspaper, and there were none.
And when it was first sold, because I was particularly arguing this point.
All right,
I know you don't want to hear that, but it makes a difference in the how the chain of events went down the line.
I agree, but my point is, this group of people here that all signed a certified copy of a resolution. And in the resolution, that it says, whereas the deed contains certain stipulations regarding the repair or replacement of the improvements located therein. See the above reference deed, which is the one about fixing and maintaining. And such stipulations have been met by the grantee. If they were not, now may I finish, please? If the stipulations were not met and there were extenuating circumstances, that whereas should have never appeared, because by signing this deed, you're agreeing that everything by stipulation of the deed and the clause have been met, and that you're attesting to it, that it is good, sound, and been met. My problem is I have been finding contradictory information in everything I've looked at. In one place it says we're getting rid of it because it's not worth fixing, which if it was, fine. It needed to be stated that way in a legal document that was filed. Instead, on a legal document, it says everything's hunky-dory and it's fine and acceptable. My problem is, when you're doing business like this, you need to state exactly what the facts are. The way this looks, I can understand why someone came to me and said that something shady was going on and that you were giving it away. There was no mention that it was be impractical due to the inspections that Dr. Strickland said took place. I would like to see some documentation of these, that what their problems were. Because as it stands, the documents that are recorded and available say there was nothing wrong with it. And this is why I have my questions and why I asked to speak to you tonight, was to try to clarify this.
Well, at the end, when the building was in such disrepair and the previous instructions or whatever had not been followed, and the city was going to take it back, and Dr. Strickland did all the investigating that he did, because I wanted it back, and several of us did. But then whenever you find out it was going to cost all this money to even be able to do anything with it, plus I think they said the walls were not safe, just the asbestos.
Well,
and then, so what, you know, you keep
under
money into
the requirements of the deed, the second
we could
part
have
of
taken it back.
The second part of the consideration, the city could have taken it back,
That's right.
offered it in public auction as they're supposed to for city property, and sold it as is, where is. I mean, there is no expense that the city was required to do.
If we took it back, we could have been stuck with a building that we would have had to spend several thousand.
No, you didn't.
To get rid of
We
asbestos.
would if we took it
Mr. Lane
back.
had the option, and if you read in the deed, he can tear it down and make it a clean vacant lot.
Now, you
Buy
said
the-
that why wouldn't the city take it back?
And
as
advertise it properly and see what kind of bids. You still have the right to refuse bids. It's just doing something the proper way, the way this property's supposed to be disposed. Instead of saying, well,
If
we
you so
got,
choose to do that way, but apparently the council did not choose to do it like that because they didn't want another piece of property that could have contaminated materials on our hands again.
you have the certified documentation that shows that it was contaminated? Or is that just an assumption?
I told you the gentleman I brought in to look at it, and I came back and gave the report to the council.
Did he give you a
I did not ask for
certification?
anything in writing. My word and their word was all I needed to give to the council.
Okay.
I was doing my homework. There was a
That's
considerable
fine.
amount of time that took place between when this thing first took place with bid with Mr. Lane until it got to when I came on the council at that time. That was one of the hanging boogers that was out there that we need to have some resolution to. That's why I got involved in it. And I came back trying to be objective and give the report to the council. The problem was,
I
it
was-
was creating a major public relations problem between Mr. Lane, who had put a considerable amount of money already in it, trying to get it fixed up. When I went in the building, you could see the water damage that was just being let go for disrepair for probably, I don't know how long, but bottom line is he went ahead and put the roof repair work on that already, which to me showed a concerned interest in his part to develop the building, to put it up to par, and meet his obligation for what I understood at that time that the council had set forth. So that needed to be considered in that
That's fine.
$6,000 that you're making an issue out of.
I'm not making an
He had
issue.
obligated,
I asked
he had
a
obligated
question.
himself to that. I'm talking, Tom. That was all part of the process, that he was trying to fulfill his obligation, his commitment to this council. And by doing so, it looked like it was a concerted effort on his part. The council was trying to get out of this thing and create peace and harmony for everybody. And it was a situation where we couldn't win if we retook that building. It was a losing proposition. If we had condemned it, taken it back from him, said he didn't fulfill the obligation, we'd have had that to deal with. By him having it, we had a white elephant off of our hands. So that was the choice that we were up to. We contacted our attorney. Our attorney worked out the deed process and moved on with the process so we could get this off of our book, so to speak. Okay?
Are you finished? My point being is, nowhere in any of the legal documents that were filed is any of this reflected.
It doesn't have to be.
I'm talking now.
It doesn't have to be, Tom. It does not have to be.
Okay, give
I
Tom the
would
floor.
like to finish up, but if I keep getting interrupted, I can see I can't. Mayor, I'd like you to have, if I have the floor, I would like to finish my part.
I just said you had the floor, Tom.
Thank you.
Continue.
What's shown in your documents is completely contrary to what I've found out here tonight. My point being, there is no commercial structure. It's a private structure, private storage. It did not meet the requirements of the original consideration stated by council back in '96 when it was done. There's no documentation as to that there were extenuating circumstances or problems. Like I said, I was just trying to get some straight answers and get some documentation. And as it appears, there is no documentation, and council pretty much does what they want to do when they want to do it. Now, in closing, last thing. It's been publicly stated that this council's